Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. I hope everyone is having a good 4th of July. Those that are off, I hope that you all celebrated, had some fun, spending a little time with the family. And also for those that just wanted to chill today, man, I hope that you got your batteries refreshed, man. But it's back to what we talk about, which is the New Orleans Saints. It's been a while since I did a show. There's a reason behind that. I'll keep you all posted. It's a positive thing. It's a positive thing. Well, I haven't been doing shows for the last couple of days. Actually, it's kind of world changing. It's definitely going to change my career for the better if things work out. But thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. Though we'll have a little bit of fun today. This is the State of the Saints podcast. And shouts out to King Arthur, who actually inspired me to do this. A top 10 list, something I always wanted to do. But when somebody encourages you, somebody that supports you, what you're doing, and kind of push you into that direction, it kind of reinforces that, right? So we're going to be doing these top 10 lists going forward, man. I'm actually going to be promoting a brand new channel towards this, this top 10 list. So this is the first of probably many Saints top 10 lists that I'm actually going to do. But for all those that are in the chat right now, appreciate your time. Thank you for spending your 4th of July with me. And also those that are listening and can't be in the chat, thank you so much as well. But we're going to go ahead and get this thing started, and we're going to talk about each one of these. And the reason why I decided to select one of these moments as my top 10. Now, I got to say this. This is my top 10, right? This is mine. It belongs to me. I know anytime anybody does a top 10, somebody will always say, man, you left this out. You left this out. This is my top 10. This is my top 10. These are some of the moments that I feel like kind of sticks into my mind when it comes to Saints Saints moments. And I actually had a really good time because, when you're doing a top 10, you don't want to neglect something, right? You don't want to neglect a moment, be like, I should have put this in. But, there are some honorary mentions, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. Starting off at number 10 is a moment that started off positive, but didn't end that way.
Two wideouts to the left, one to the right. From the shotgun, Brooks pumps, throws down the near sideline to Stallworth, and Stallworth tries to get away from some people and does to the 38-yard line. He needs a block. He needs a couple there. They're going to lateral the ball to Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis tries to stay alive. He'll lateral it to Deuce. Deuce needing help. He laterals across the field, and the Saints are going to take it in with Pathan. If this is legal, they've done it.
No.
Jerome Pathan diving into the end zone.
I mean, you can't tell me that I just witnessed what I just saw take place.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest New Orleans Saints moments of all time. A lot of people already know what happened next, right? It was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Saints were fighting for their playoff lives. That play was just absolutely outstanding, but John Carney misses the extra point. All right. So it is one of those moments that it was like, yeah, I mean, it was poetic justice. I mean, it was like the chef kiss of what 90s New Orleans Saints fans felt. All right. And going into the 2000s, it's what all Saints fans felt. Always something positive happens, and then all of a sudden something just comes in and completely negates all the positive things that took place. But I put it on the list because, I mean, it is synonymous, man, and it is one of those moments that kind of stick out, even though it didn't end up being the way that the New Orleans Saints wanted it to be. So that comes in at number 10 on the list. I'm going to go ahead and read some comments before we get into the rest of the countdown. Larry says the Tracy Porter pick six is the greatest play in Saints history. It seals the Super Bowl win. End of discussion. Well, we'll see later on in the show. Let's see. Mario says to that chemotherapy. Giving a shout out to it by Mario. Ernest says has to be the mic and DC definitely steals the ball and took it to the house. I mean, a lot of great moments. Ernest Meacham stole the ball in DC. Yeah, this hurts. Yeah, that definitely was one of those moments that definitely hurt, man. I mean, like I said, the Saints need to win that game in order to, make the playoffs. Dirty Bird block punt to be on the list also completely rewoke the whole nation. All right, we'll see later on. We'll see down the list. But we're going to move on to the number 9 moment. And feel free to put some of your greatest Saints moments of all time in the chat as well. But coming in at number 9 is a moment that happened quite recently, but it was still an incredible play.
We've had no success with that tonight. That's been such a great package, and it's just not working tonight.
Brees look deep covered, comes back Kamara, made a man miss. Alvin Kamara across midfield, still on his feet. Kamara's got a bunch of room and some blockers. Hurdling a blocker at the 25. Inside the 50. What a run by Kamara, who's all the way in for a touchdown. Wow. 52 for Kamara.
All right, so coming in at number 9, Alvin Kamara's 50-plus yard screenplay. Look, this describes what Alvin Kamara is all about. I mean, the guy has incredible balance. He's one of the smartest NFL players that are out right now. And, I mean, this is one of those guys that, made this play happen pretty much themselves. I mean, following his blockers, shout out to Eric McCoy running downfield. But the fact that he's seen out the corner of his eye, Eric McCoy, running downfield, pushing it down the field for him to slow down so Eric McCoy can get that block in order for him to cut back up. I mean, and all of the missed tackles. I mean, it pretty much tells you what Alvin Kamara is all about. One of the best New Orleans Saints players to do it. And, he only been in the league going into his 6th season, man. So it pretty much speaks volumes of it. I mean, this guy is incredible, man. And it just shows how good he really is, man. So coming in at number 9 for me is Alvin Kamara's 55-yard scamper. Coming in at number 8 is a moment pretty much speak for itself. It's that time when Joe Horn called home.
Yard empty backfield. Brooks with time, rifles, touchdown Saints. Joe Horn, and he pulls up the protective coating. There's a new one.
He's got his own phone.
He hit his phone.
He had his phone stashed in the end zone.
Joe Horn's cell phone celebration, man. Of course, it going to the flag, but it also, it gave us another moment. Years down the line, Michael Thomas sealing a deal against the Los Angeles Rams, and he paid homage to Joe Horn when he pulled out the cell phone, the flip phone. So Joe Horn, one of the best wide receivers in New Orleans Saints history. Some people might argue, say he is the best. Some people might say Marky Colston is, but I mean, regardless, he was one of those guys that really stabbed to his legacy with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, he was a charismatic guy. He made some really good catches. I think he was really underrated as a wide receiver. I don't think he really gets his credit for being one of the best wide receivers of that decade, the 2000s, as they call it. Some people, raise the eyebrow about Joe Horn, but man, Joe Horn was a playmaker, and Joe Horn brought it every single week. And there's a reason why he's one of the most respected New Orleans Saints players of all time. So definitely belongs on the list. And that moment sticks in everybody's head, especially if you grew up around that time, man. It was a primetime game. It was very few primetime games that New Orleans Saints got, So when the New Orleans Saints played on primetime, you had to tune in if you were a Saints fan. Not some of you spoiled young Saints fans that probably just remember the Saints playing on primetime almost every week. It was a time where the Saints weren't playing on primetime, and when they did, man, you kind of, move your schedule around in order for you to see that moment. So Joe Horn pulling out the cell phone. All right, coming in at number 8. Number 7 is something that happened that I seen somebody in the chat mention. It was one of those plays that when the Saints turns a negative into a positive.
Jeremy Shockey, the tight end. They pick up the blitz. Brees faking. Andre Carter missed him. Brees throws. It's up for grabs. Was it picked off? Kareem Moore's got the ball. It's an interception. And then it's taken away by Robert Meacham. Meacham goes in for a touchdown.
Yeah, that was one of those plays, man, where you just realized it was just the Saints' year. I mean, it was one of those. I mean, that was a very, very tough game that the Saints played against the Washington then Redskins. That game actually ended up going into overtime, and it was tough, man. And that was one of the times where Redskins, they really brought it, man, because all week people were talking about how the Saints were just going to blow out the Redskins, and Jason Campbell, who was the quarterback at the time, the quarterback out of Auburn, came out there, and, man, he played pretty doggone good. So that was just one of those games where the defense of the Washington Redskins was giving the Saints all they can handle, and it was going in a bad direction for the New Orleans Saints. But Robert Meacham pretty much saved that game, and I think by him doing that, going into the half, the Saints were able to make those adjustments, and they were able to go toe-to-toe with the Redskins, a team that wanted to beat the Saints because the Saints was so heavily favored in that game. But definitely one of those moments that's always going to stick out because it really showed people that the Saints were going to be here, and that actually led to the success as they had down the road, which leads me to the number 6 moment. I had to mention this because this guy, to me, is one of the greatest to ever do this particular play. Coming in at number 6 is about Pierre time.
Set up screen to Thomas. Inside the 10. Thomas weaving at the 5, and he's in. And the Saints have taken the lead at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so coming in number 6, that's Pierre Thomas. Pierre Thomas scoring the very first touchdown for the New Orleans Saints in Super Bowl 44. Look, Pierre Thomas, to me, doesn't get the credit. I know a lot of people talk about running backs and Saints history, but really people don't bring up Pierre Thomas and how special this dude is. To me, he is the greatest screen runner of all time. Like, seriously, like nobody ran the screen like Pierre Thomas. His ability to be able to see his blocks, being able to move and shift and fight for those extra yards, very underrated. And also, he was always the bridesmaid and never the bride. This guy fought for every single thing he got. The Saints seemed like they always wanted to bring a running back in to try to demote Pierre Thomas, but every single time Pierre Thomas played, he went out there and he balled the heck out. So got to give Pierre Thomas oodles of credit for what he did with the New Orleans Saints, and to me, once again, the greatest runner up the screen I ever seen in my entire life. So coming in at number 6, Pierre Thomas giving the Saints their very first touchdown in Super Bowl 44. All right, let's go to some of the comments, see what you all have to say. And like I said, feel free to put your comments down here in the chat. I would love to hear from you, hear about your favorite moments with the New Orleans Saints. But let's see. Larry says, when Pierre scored, that's when I thought we actually might win the damn Super Bowl. And we end up doing so, man. I mean, coming out in the half with the onside kick, and that led to that Pierre Thomas touchdown. It pretty much shifted, the way that we thought. I mean, Garrett Hartley kept the Saints in the game with those 40-plus yard field goals, keeping the Saints in. I mean, was absolutely clutch, dialed in. So, but that definitely showed you, man, the Saints might end up winning this football game. Pierre ran with such power and balance. Yeah, he did. I mean, he broke a lot of tackles, and he also, his decision-making with the screen was just incredible. I mean, Mark Ingram, as time went on, he became like a much better screen runner. But when Mark Ingram first came to the Saints back in 2011, I mean, he was a guy that really wasn't that good at pass catching. I mean, he had to kind of teach himself to do that. And shouts out to the Saints coaching staff and Mark Ingram willing to kind of, change up his game, because Mark Ingram, at the University of Alabama was just a one cut back. Big old burly offensive lineman open up holes for him to run in. So he kind of had to change his running style. And, like I said, as time progressed, probably like the 3 years before he moved on to Baltimore, you can kind of see him kind of emerge as a really good screen running back. So that was a plus. That was a plus. Man, we have some great moments. Yeah, we have some great moments, man. The Saints, they do have some great moments, man. And it was really tough doing this list because, quite frankly, at the age of 35, I mean, I've been blessed and privileged to watch some of the best plays, growing up as a kid, man, that, watching, some of these Saints players, that some of y'all probably say their names and you probably don't know who the heck I'm talking about. Some of y'all probably would, but some of the younger viewers and, watchers of this show probably won't know who I'm talking about. But I mean, I was privileged to do so, man. But I tried to, keep it. I tried to keep it to a point where people understood. And also, man, I had to kind of, wean some moments out, because I was like, man, does it really deserve to be here? Because honorable mention, of course, is the Michael Thomas touchdown when he pulled out the cell phone. The 98-yard touchdown by Brandon Cooks against the Oakland Raiders. Those were a few moments that I was thinking about putting on the list. And also Mark Ingram run against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when he dragged the linebacker into the end zone a couple of years ago. So those are a couple of moments that were kind of honorable mention that didn't make the list. If I was doing the top 20, they definitely when it ended up there. But one guy who did make the list for a special play, it took place back when the Saints were trying to show the entire world that they were serious, man. Back in 2006, the New Orleans Saints shocked a lot of people by finding themselves in the NFC Championship game. And this moment, even though the Saints were unsuccessful against the Bears, this moment stood out.
Brees lost it. Behind the defense, it's Reggie Bush. And Bush is into the open field, showing his speed. Reggie Bush to the end zone. Touchdown, no flags.
Yeah, that was a special play, man. That was Reggie Bush rookie year back in 2006. Look, the Saints really shocked a lot of people. They went 10-6 that season, and they ended up going to the NFC Championship game. And how crazy the league was that year. They went 10-6, and they were a 2 seed. I mean, if you go 10-6, or in this case 10-7 in modern day NFL, and you're gonna find yourself in a wild card game. There's no way in the world you're gonna be a 2 seed. You're lucky if you're a 6 or 7 seed with a record like that. But they were the number 2 seed. They end up beating the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round a week before. And the Chicago Bears, they had a really good defense. They had some issues at quarterback. Of course, Rex Grossman with their quarterback. But the Saints really, shocked a lot of individuals because nobody expected for the Saints to be in that position. And I just think that was the year that Drew Brees and Sean Payton really showed the entire NFL world that the Saints are going to be a legitimate threat to a lot of teams going forward. So that moment right there with Reggie Bush, it really showed like his ability, his elusiveness, and also his speed in the open field. So that's one of my favorite plays of all time. And that's coming in at number 5. Number 4, we got a little historical reference here. This game right here, I mean, Drew Brees was absolutely cooking. And also, I mean, to surprise to nobody, he broke a record.
Ties his career high in a game. But I think he's searching for another mighty mark. Will he get it here? Yes! Touchdown pass, 5-4-0 in the 504.
All right, so Drew Brees breaking the all-time touchdown record at the time before it was broken once again by Tom Brady. The reason why I put that on the list versus the all-time, pass yards record is because honestly, against that game versus the Redskins, I mean, that was just a blown coverage. It almost looked like the Washington Redskins allowed Traquan Smith to run that touchdown so Drew Brees can break the record. That wasn't really that impressive to me. Of course, him having those many yards throughout his career is impressive. But the reason I put this on the list was because how well he played in that game. I mean, he was just absolutely dialed in. Normally, like if you think about breaking a record or something like that, maybe it'll get to you. You start to get nervous, like it may affect your play. But Drew Brees almost had 100% completion rate in that game. I mean, and it led on until the following week. I want to say when they played, I don't remember who they played, but it led on to the following week where he almost broke Phillip Rivers' record. He was like a pass away from doing that. But long story short, Drew Brees, this record to me was significant because of how well he played. And to me, if he didn't get injured this year, I think that you probably would have had Tom Brady still trying to catch his record because Drew Brees would have pushed himself ahead of Tom Brady. It kind of helped Tom Brady with the yards record, with the touchdown record that Drew Brees missed quite a few games the last 2 years of his career, of course, with the ribs and then, also with the fingers. So, but it still was a great moment. It was on national television on ESPN Monday Night Football, and Drew Brees played out his freaking mind that game. So coming in at number 4 is Drew Brees touchdown record. Rose City says spin move against the Falcons. Not really. I thought about that, of course. That's a great moment, but it's the freaking Falcons, man. The Saints beat the Falcons all the time. Like there's nothing impressive about that. You know what I'm saying? like the Falcons to me, no disrespect. But I mean, the last couple of years, it hasn't even really been a rivalry. The only thing is just the Falcons and the Saints have been, kind of synonymous with one another. I mean, the Saints been dominating that. I mean, and Drew Brees throughout his career dominated the Falcons. I mean, how impressive was that? I mean, honestly, if you look at the Saints versus Falcons, crunch time, down the stretch, Drew Brees needed a touchdown. I mean, how many times have we saw that? So, yes, that does deserve to be on a list, but not a top 10 list. I mean, because it's the freaking Falcons, for God's sake. Nola game for me, 1 Porter pick 6, 2 Porter pick on Favre in the NFC Championship. Okay. Ricky Williams gained a grand every year. Was a Saint. You get my email, TJ. Josh, thank you for the $2. No, I didn't get your email, man. I check it out after the show. I heard he changed his last name. I think he changed his last name to his wife's name or something like that. We talking about Ricky Williams. Yeah, it was in the news not too long ago. The Patriots game back in 2009, Brees 75-yard pass to Devery Henderson for a touchdown. Yeah, that deserves. I can understand that being on a list because that game showed the entire NFL world that the Saints were for real. 2006 kind of showed the Saints as being like, these are not your grandpa's Saints. Like this ain't the team that's gonna get slapped around every week. This game right here, to me, in 2009, that you're referring to, Kai, is a game where in front of a nationally televised audience, we watched the New Orleans Saints like decimate a team that people looked at as the greatest team, in the world at that particular time. And not to mention, and I'm sounding like a broken record here, but if you go look at that game, the way that the Saints played Tom Brady is kind of similar to how they played Tom Brady when him in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform. I mean, the Saints, for some apparent reason, throughout the years, has had Tom Brady's number. Now, there was that game where, Tom Brady threw that pass in the back of the end zone for the touchdown late in the game. The Rob Ryan defense wet the bed. But more times than not, Tom Brady gets dominated by New Orleans Saints. But it showed everybody that the Saints were for real. It was almost like a changing of the guard type thing. Like, man, this team is serious, And I think it made everybody like wake up and be like, man, this team about to go on a run. And the Saints did. They won 13 straight games before they lost to them doggone Cowgirls. But anyway, we're going to move on to the number 3 moment on the list. I heard somebody mention this before. I mean, of course, this moment means so much to so many members of the New Orleans Saints fan base, and not to mention the city of New Orleans.
Former St. Morton Anderson is here for most field goals. Look out, right through! A pick block by Steve Gleason. It is scooped and scored by Curtis DeLoach. Touchdown, New Orleans!
Yeah, so the block punt by Steve Gleason, I mean, it was the first game back after Hurricane Katrina. I mean, the crowd was going absolutely crazy. The dome was back. It just what it represented, right? It represented hope. It represented a rebuild. The resurrection of the city. So it definitely was one of those moments. I mean, if you have a top 5 New Orleans Saints list, I mean, that is going to fall in your top 5. I don't care what type of list you're trying to run. If you don't have that block punt by Steve Gleason on your list, you might need to revamp your list. I mean, it's so synonymous that there is a statue, you know what I'm saying, like outside, you know what I'm saying, to symbolize that particular moment. So, I mean, but on the right side, I mean, Bashir, I mean, as crazy as this may be, even though his punt has been blocked, he can actually bring his kids and his grandkids to the Superdome and be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Look, that's me right there. He's blocking my punt. You know what I'm saying? As crazy as that may sound, but hey, man, there is a statue, you know what I'm saying, of him. I mean, I think more people like you look at like, okay, man, it's Gleason blocking the punt, but that's Bashir, you know what I'm saying? Like that's getting blocked. So, I mean, how would y'all feel about that, right? So let's just say, for example, if you're a punter, right? You're a punter, and somebody blocks your punt. Like, would you still be proud of a statue that is outside somebody's stadium or somebody's arena of you? You know, I would. You know what I'm saying? You still can go back, you know, and how significant that is. So, I mean, look, you can always forever, you know, be like, man, that's me right there. They blocking my punt. So, but yeah, man, coming in number 3 is the block punt. Number 2 and number 1, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what they're going to be. It's pretty obvious. Number 2 is one of the greatest Saints moments of all time. It's when we realized that the Saints were going to do something we never seen.
Combine his career, regular and postseason, he's 23 of 25. Hartley sends the Saints to the Super Bowl.
The number 2 moment, the 40-yard field goal by Garrett Hartley. I mean, come on, man. I mean, the Saints never been to the Super Bowl, never sniffed that thing. But they end up finding themselves in that moment. You know, 40-yard field goal. I mean, they showed the clip. If you remember that game, they showed the clip of Garrett Hartley missing a field goal, I want to say wide to the left against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they showed like I think Gail Benson hugging Tom Benson. They all happy because they think like the chip shot. Then all of a sudden, like the shock on Tom Benson's face, and Gail Benson like, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Oh man, but anyway, he definitely redeemed himself from that, you know, by kicking a field goal, man, straight between the bars, man. I mean, right down Bourbon Street, man. So that was definitely a great moment. And also, man, it helped him, man, because he took that energy and he took that momentum to the Super Bowl, man. Like, make no mistake about it. Those field goals by Garrett Hartley in the Super Bowl kept the Saints in it. They kept them in it. And, you know, Saints struggled a little bit to try to find that offensive rhythm, I think, because they were so nervous, you know what I'm saying, all those flash bulbs going off and You know, it took them some time for that offense to start to click, man, and Garrett Hartley kept them in the game. So Garrett Hartley definitely deserves to be on this list, and he's definitely deserving of one of those top 3 Saints moments. Coming in number 1 is a shock to absolutely nobody. It's when the Saints did something, once again, that we never thought in our lifetime, especially my lifetime, they would do.
Picked off. Look out. Gets past Manning, and it's Tracy Porter taking it all the way. Touchdown, New Orleans.
Yeah, the number 1 moment, Tracy Porter, 70-yard interception, return to the house for the touchdown in Super Bowl 44. Look, that was definitely a number 1 moment. I don't know what moment can trump that moment. You know, I mean, especially if you've been a diehard Saints fan like myself, the fact that you knew for a fact that New Orleans Saints could win the Super Bowl, to see it in your lifetime. I mean, there's been so many days where I can remember like how embarrassing it was to be a Saints fan at times, but you still had a lot of pride in the team. Like, people were just embarrassed. They didn't want to wear Saints stuff. They didn't want to say that they were a Saints fan. You know, it was always a joke, you know, like, man, there was always that joke where, you know, somebody walked past a car and they looked in the window, they seen 2 Saints tickets on the seat. And then the owner of the car came back, he had 4 Saints tickets on his seat. That's how bad it was. But you think about all of those moments as a Saints fan, and now you're watching the New Orleans Saints, a snake-bitten franchise over 1967, win a freaking Super Bowl. My goodness. You definitely got to give Tracy Porter his credit. But that is my top 10, man. That's my top 10. I would like to hear what you all have to say about that. I'll read some of your comments before we get up out of here. I got of course, it's the 4th of July, so about to go outside. They got some fireworks that's popping off in the community, so going to take Paxton out there so he can see a little bit of fireworks. So going to go ahead and read some of your comments, and then we're going to wrap up the show there. You know, but once again, we're going to have more top 10 shows like this, and you all tell me what you thought about my top 10. The Goose and him died on the same day. I don't know exactly who we're talking about here. What's that? And then Kai, my guy. Oh, shoot, I'm behind. Number 1 moment. Will Smith dumping Manning is still awesome. The fact that it wasn't an illegal block in the back. But I guess, you know, man, for something like that, the referees weren't going to call it. Y'all don't know how much crying I did saying finally. Man, I think a lot of people shed some tears on that one, man. Ray, I think a lot of people did. Is Ambush on the list? Ambush is not on the list, even though it's an important moment in Saints history. Just wasn't one of my favorite Saints moments in history. I think that when it comes to Saints history, I think that that's more of a, to me, is more amplified by national media than it is, you know, than to me. I don't want to say that because some people might look at that onside kick as a great Saints moment. It just wasn't one of mine, man. I mean, it was the second half, okay? The game could have went anyway. What, it was like 10-6. So who's to say if they would have, you know what I'm saying, wouldn't have got the onside kick, they wouldn't have forced a 3 and out, or they wouldn't have forced the field goal. Because at the end of the day, still, they end up getting the ball and they scored. So score would have been 13-13, I guess, but this wasn't one of my, I mean, it's definitely a top moment, just not one of my top 10s. Not one of my top 10s. Roger, thank you very much for the $5. Say, TJ, I went back crazy when Porter caught the interception. I still get teary-eyed. Yeah, man, I mean, it was a great moment. I said what it represented. What it represented was something you never thought you'll see in your lifetime, and that's the New Orleans Saints winning the big one. That Tracy Porter interception return for a touchdown always gives me chills, real talk. That Garrett Hartley field goal, and shouts out to the production team on Fox. But that when they kicked that field goal, it's like when he kicked it, you could just hear like the crowd when they just realized like it's about to be good. And then, you know, it started to like gather up, and it just definitely gives me chills, man. And how like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman just allow like the moment to kind of, come together. You see Lance Moore jumping in the crowd. They're picking up Garrett Hartley, carrying him off the field. I mean, that moment right there give me chills too. But I mean, definitely that Tracy Porter interception. I mean, I was just more shocked than anything. Like, man, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. Let's see. Ray says ambush has to be one of the top plays. Yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely like one of the top plays. And I like I said, I wouldn't be mad if somebody put that in their top 10. It's just not one of my top 10 moments. I want another Super Bowl like ASAP. The Saints won a Super Bowl on my birthday. Hey, that was a great birthday present right there. And then another reason, man. I mean, honestly, if we was doing a top 10, I mean, you got so many Super Bowl moments, right? You got, if you're gonna mention onside kick, like I say, you got to mention the Pierre Thomas touchdown. Then you would have to think about that Lance Moore 2-point conversion where he caught it on his back, and you know what I'm saying? Like, he kind of shifted his body. I mean, there was like, if you're doing that, like I mean, honestly, the Super Bowl moment would be like all in your top 10. That'd be the only top 10. If you think about like all of the moments that happened within that Super Bowl, you're probably, if you're doing the top 10, you'll probably have 5 of those moments in the Super Bowl that, that would have took over your list. Got to do a top 10 State of Saints podcast moment episode. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe somebody else can do that, or somebody can mention that. I don't know if I want to take the time and go back into the archives and be like, oh man, this is like, I don't know. If you enjoy the show, that's great. If you enjoy the show, enjoy the content, that's great. Of course, there are some good moments. My favorite moment, of course, is when Cesar Ruiz got drafted. But for me to sit up here and say that, like I want to do a top 10 or make a top 10, I guess, because I would rather somebody, that watches the show have a top 10. That means that, they took the time out to do that. But me, I don't know, man. If you enjoy the show, it's great. Let's see. Roger Williams, I said with my mouth wide open saying the Saints are going to win the Super Bowl and wonder. Man, I know, right? They're going to win? Lance Moore 2-point was the best catch I ever seen. Yeah, it's definitely up there. Winston could be the next quarterback that comes to the Saints from another team and win a Super Bowl. But that's what we all hope. That's what we all hope. And we hope that happens. Well, we hope that happens. But I hope everybody enjoyed the show, man. I hope everybody enjoyed the State of Saints podcast top 10 list of top 10 greatest moments according to yours truly. And I would love to hear from you, man. What are your top 10 moments? And also another idea, man. What do you feel like the next top 10 should be regarding the New Orleans Saints? What should be the next top 10 that we do? Make sure that you comment, like, and share this video. Hope everybody has a great 4th of July. Hope everybody had a great day. Hope that you enjoy yourselves. Much love to everybody. Going to have some more shows going towards the week as we lead into Saints training camp. Talk a little bit about what we are looking for at training camp. Some of the news that's regarding Jameis Winston, it is rehabilitation, and also some things regarding Michael Thomas. So keep it locked right here to the State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Also, the State of Saints podcast merchandise is available right now on teesprings.com. Just search the State of the Saints podcast to purchase your T-shirt. Brand new State of the Saints podcast T-shirt that is available right now. That has the brand new State of the Saints podcast logo on it. Also, once again, check it out on social media. You can follow me on Twitter at TJAYJones8. And also, there's a new article out right now on the top 3 things that the Saints need to do in order for them to make the playoffs. And that's available on whothatdish.com. It's a new article that I wrote. Till next time, all I got to say is,